Now don't worry, I'm not going to be starting off this video the way a typical YouTuber would do for any heavy subject matter, but I guess it is sort of a heavy subject matter. For those of you who aren't aware, about 5 or 6 weeks ago, my dad, Tony, passed away, and he was only 70. He definitely had a lot of time left potentially, but at the same time he didn't. He was combating a lot of illnesses, really. He was not a well man, but he stuck with it for a long time, longer than we expected, and he was always sharp as a tack until the very end. In fact, the day before he passed, Philly and I, we were taking Uffa down for her first holiday, and Dad absolutely loved dogs and absolutely adored Uffa whenever she would come along. In fact, sometimes he didn't really give a hoot about us. He just wanted to spend time with the dog. A 15-week-old puppy for a man who hadn't had a dog in like nearly 40 years. He had a boxer called Monty, who he absolutely adored, and that's what's on the thumbnail, because I thought that's pretty much the quintessential picture of him. And it's only now, when we're actually looking through the old photos, that him in his early 30s, yeah, he looks like me. And just, there's no escaping the forehead, the hairline. It only dawned on me when we were actually looking through the pictures, and wow. It's weird how genetics works, doesn't it? But yeah, the last memory I have was him just really happy. He was in a good mood. He was actually in good spirits, but upon further reflection, we actually realised that, you know, that tends to happen before people pass. They just have this last flourish, the last gasp before they go. And he was just really happy. He stayed with us for a couple of hours while we had a little pit stop, had some lunch. And he just was really happy because we were going through his family tree. He wasn't really aware of what was going on about that. He didn't actually have time, or neither did he care. But once we did it, he found out that he had hundreds of relatives going back until the 17th century. And he was really blown away, and he was very delighted to know that history. And incidentally, my brother, whose name is Will, his name goes back to 1702. There are tons of Wills in our family, and we had no idea. I mean, okay, we had 1 or 2, but not like 7 over like 3 centuries. But he just gave me a hug, slap on the back, and just said, "Jolly nice to see you." Which was always a nice thing to say, but at the same time, it was a way of him just saying, really, I'm kind of tired, I just want to go get some sleep, which was fair enough. And that was the last time I saw him. That last moment of him slapping my back was just, that was the icing on the cake, really. The sign of how far we'd come, despite having a complicated relationship when I was a kid. You know, in the last 10 years, we really saw eye to eye, and it was just, yeah, that was a really good way to end it. And I mean, obviously I don't want it to end at all, or at least not for a very long time, but yeah, he was really not well. But yeah, okay, let's just get past that. Let's just go with what Dad did. And Dad did a lot. He's kind of like me in a way. Well, makes sense, because, you know, he's my dad. Or was. Still, you know, getting used to that. But he would always try something. In fact, I actually have a really good article. I used it for the thing I read for his funeral. And there's this article from a local newspaper, and it's like called Selling by Sound and Vision. It was like a local news clipping of a journalist talking to people in the neighbourhood, in the general area. And Dad's thing was called Selling by Sound and Vision, an expert in sound and vision. That's what the title was. And this was when he was about 23. So round about the time I went to Youmacon, so 2009 for me. So around about that same age when we were really starting to figure out what we want to do with our lives. And it was audio-visual communications is the specialty of Tony Simpson. It is a very wide field, said Tony. If you see it and or hear it, I do it. And he would do it. He always had a go at something, and he would always encourage us to have a go at stuff. And honestly, it all came to a head about 2001. He had done some work for the Norwegian army when Gore-Tex was like this brand new material that only the military used. And now it's commonplace. But back then, 20 years ago, really hard to come by. I had no idea what it was. But he was looking through the rushes and the footage on tape, you know, actual DV tape, And he let me have a go on his editing suite that he bought, a £10,000 editing suite. Yeah, his relationship with money was complicated. This thing had Final Cut Pro. It was state-of-the-art at the time. I mean, it's ancient now, I mean, after 20 years, but it gave me that first start in editing. And it finally sort of gave me something to do, because Will was at university at the time, and I kind of ended up copying where he went in terms of college and then university. But Dad just letting me have a play with it and see what I come up with, that was the turning point in my life. A light switch went off in my mind, and I was like, yes, I want to do this. And yeah, he always encouraged me to just keep on trying. And despite the fact I, didn't quite appreciate sometimes what he'd say, he was right in the end. He was damn right. The creative juices that we have stem from both my mum and Dad, but Dad's one was that he was a whiz at photography. He knew how to hold a camera, where to point it. He would always have a brand new camera. He'd always be very keen to try out new stuff. And he would tell me straight if something was wrong. And when it came to picking the DSLR that I used to actually start filming these videos for the channel, I was thinking maybe about something along the lines of a Nikon, and then Dad was like, no, go for Canon. And he bought me that 650D. And I still have it. Philly uses it to this day. Dad made a very good call with that. It served me very well for a best part of about 3 years. I mean, it still serves us today. Yeah, there's a lot of stories to be said with that man. And yeah, in about 2012, he realized what the significance of what I did was, and he couldn't be any more proud. And that moment was just something that I cherish. I really do. And he always was very interested to learn what I did and where I would go. He'd always take us to the airport just to be part of the experience. And funny story to do with airports is that 2014, the guys, TFS and I, we went to ACOM in Texas, and I was having a great time. I lucked out on where I had a seat because it had ultimate legroom, because I'm 6'3". If you can get good legroom, that's always a plus. I had no idea. I was enjoying myself, taking a picture, and I didn't think anything of it until I was coming back. Turns out, Dad saw it, realised what my plane was, an hour and a half late. He contacted British Airways and complained, and this wasn't just a standard complaint. This was him going like, no, what are you doing? My son's MasakoX. He's got 12,000 followers on Twitter. You're making him late for an important conference. I didn't know any of this until I pieced it together from Mum, because I got called up and I received an upgrade without any clue about why. But Dad was fighting for me and being a really excellent wingman. I mean, it's one of those few things that it's hard to say. I don't know, I'm not a parent, but it's just something like that. You don't ask for help, but they help you anyway. Wanting to be part of that experience, and yeah, I'll miss him, I really will. Just, okay, he's quite abrasive, was quite abrasive, and yeah, we didn't agree on a lot of things, but he always was happy to see us, very happy to see Arthur. I mean, who wouldn't be? Yeah, just a shame that it had to end this soon. I would have quite liked another 10, 15 years with the old man. Yeah, it's kind of actually hard to try and articulate this without a script. I wanted to be off the cuff with this, just things that came to mind whenever I thought, just how he was with me along the way, got me that start, just was always keen to just see me not just get lazy or get, complacent. I mean, yeah, I wasn't the best at school. I mean, I was okay, I was pretty good. I coasted. And yeah, Dad wasn't an academic guy, but he always just tried to make sure that I had a good education. And I do thank him for that. And all the times whenever he'd be in his studio, because he had a separate building where we used to live, where he would work, because he did loads of printing and lots of stuff in Photoshop type things when Photoshop was brand new. And trying to do that at home was practically impossible. You know, if you wanted printing done, design for brochures and stuff, photography, he had his own darkroom because he wanted it, and he was very good at it as well with film. He just did it, and he had all of this stuff. And before the time of like home processing and home photography and just designing stuff with Publisher was very easy to do, he was a master at that. And whenever I go over there, I just sit there watching him play on his Mac and just doing what he did. In fact, for one Christmas fair we did, there was obviously a games fair thing. Like, you just have people bringing their home consoles in to school for a Christmas holiday for charity. And Dad made this thing for Sonic R. It basically was like the cover of the game, and he added text to it and just blew it up, laminated it, make it a proper poster. And that was something really cool. Everyone was really impressed with it. I was certainly impressed with it. And I was certainly impressed that he enjoyed Sonic R, because he and I would play that. And I still like that game, despite whatever people think of it. It meant a lot to me. And I still like that my Saturn. But yeah, one thing I definitely will carry forward from that guy is the ability to handle things in a crisis. Whenever people are out, we're doing things, I always got a plan, despite me thinking, oh, I won't have a plan. I'm a bit of a worrier. I worry about things a lot, but when other people are worrying, I suddenly get this feeling of calm. Just like, right, okay, this is what we're going to do. That's what Dad did. Dad was always like that. It's just weird, the things that you pick up, isn't it? Just things that carry forward without you even thinking about it. And one thing that he had, and his grandfather had, the ability to always find a parking space. I'm always good with finding a parking space. And I don't know whether that's to do with tenacity, determination just to find one, but hey, I once spent 45 minutes waiting for a parking space and I darn well got it. So I've got to thank... All I've got to say is, cheers, Dad, and cheers, Caesar. That was my grandfather's name, incidentally. Not that Caesar, by the way. I know this is just a bit of a rambling video of sorts, but there's just so many things that I just remember about him, which are just hard to say, but, you know, he's a good dad. I may not have seen it when I was younger, but when you look back on it, you just think, I miss the old man. Yeah. Just wish it didn't have to happen the way it did. Or, you know, as soon as it did. It'd have been really nice for him to see Upper grow up, him having a play, just being able to just sort things out and just, you know. The one thing I will definitely say is that, you know, it was touch and go whether he'd be able to make it to Philly and I's wedding, but he did. He thought he wouldn't, but he did. We have pictures of it. In fact, there's a picture of, you know, Dad, Mum, Will, myself and Philly. Yeah, just us there as a team, as a unit. That's my lock screen. And I'm definitely going to be keeping that. I'm not getting rid of it anytime soon. And it was like one of the last photos I have of him when he was, you know, looking all right. He wasn't looking great, but it's something I'll cherish, and just things that I'm trying to avoid the stereotypes. I'm trying to like not try and like win your sympathy. I'm just cheers, Dad. Just hope you're doing better. I just hope that you're all right. And just coming up with the next task that I have to do. There's a superstition that my family have, and Mum pointed it out. And this started, or I was aware of it when my grandmother passed away, Nanny. And whenever you see a white feather, that's them. Just checking in on you, seeing whether you're okay. You know, now that's Dad too. So it's just like, it's the old man just going like, hello you, how you up to? How the devil are you? He'd say that a lot. So yeah. Damn. Sorry. Just, he'll always be there. And if that superstition is something that you like, yeah, you have it. That's on me. It's a good one. White feathers. Very common, but very significant too. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, Dad meant a lot. He definitely gave me the drive to do this. get the camera, get the gear, spend too much on the gear, but love it all the same and make use of it. Anyway, I hope you guys are all right, and I hope this sheds some light, and yeah, I miss you, Dad.